BTS. उन्होंने जीके आचार ओपन है कब होगा? अच्छा नीचे की लिंक है 17 तारीख को इवेंट हुआ था YIW का हुआ था तो उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग चाहिए थी मुझको। मुझे नहीं मिल रहा था पूरा भी चाहिए जूम तो IT हेल्प से आया हुआ या फिर तो
और जब वो एक्चुअली अब यहाँ भी तो वैसे तो फिर तब मुझे कहते हैं कोई लेकिन नहीं मुझे तो मम्मी तरफ
Good morning, Aafreen ma'am.
वही सेशन जो कर रहे हैं।
Hi, good morning, ma'am. How are you?
हम्म,
We are good. We will be starting it shortly, just in a while. We are just waiting for rest of the students to join. So
No problem.
just another 4 5 minutes.
No problem.
बस 1 मिनट स्टार्ट हो जाए देख सको। I don't know. I don't know. You telling me or you asking me? I don't know. Good morning, Aafreen. Good morning, everyone. Morning, ma'am.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Gautam.
Good morning, ma'am. Sorry, I was just joined the meeting. I'm sorry about that for the delay.
No, no, thanks for joining. We are just waiting for rest of the students to join, and once a reasonable strength joins, then we will start.
Sure, ma'am. Please take your time. Thank you. Aafreen, I hope your health is better now.
Yes, I'm doing slightly better. I'm still isolated, but let's see. I mean, I think another few days I will be in isolation and then I'll go out.
Okay, please take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Macro. Ma'am, shall we start with it?
Yes, absolutely. I don't mind.
A very good morning to all of you. I, Dr. Ramandeep Mande, on behalf of Innovation Cell and Legal Literacy Club of Shri Guru Gobind Singh College, extend a very warm and hearty welcome to our eminent speaker of the day, Ms. Aafreen Khan, Advocate and Legal Counsel. I also extend a warm welcome to officials from CII and Young India, and to all the faculty members and students to this online session on how to plan for startup legal and ethical steps, which is being organized by the Innovation Cell and Legal Literacy Club of Shri Guru Gobind Singh College in collaboration with Young Indians, which is a non-government, not-for-profit, industry-led and industry-managed organization playing a proactive role in India's development process. Having institutional membership of Confederation of Indian Industry, we have organized several activities in collaboration with CII in the past, and Young Indians is also an integral part of CII. Formed in the year 2002, it has created a platform for young Indians to work towards realizing a dream of a developed nation. It grooms its members for offices of significance and engages them under several of its projects to contribute positively to its surrounding ecosystem and the nation. The Innovation Cell of Shri Guru Gobind Singh College was set up in the year 2020 as per the guidelines of Innovation Cell of Ministry of Education, Government of India to foster out-of-box thinking, to explore the entrepreneurial abilities among students and faculty members, to nurture the young minds, and to give a boost to the government's Make in India program. Since then, this cell has made continuous efforts to promote and develop a culture of innovation in college campus and to develop the entrepreneurial and innovative skills of students so that they become job creators instead of job seekers in future. With the unflinching support, encouragement, and guidance of our management and our Honorable Principal Dr. Navjot Kaur, Institution Innovation Council of Shri Guru Gobind Singh College was able to receive a star rating of 3.5 from the Ministry of Education, Government of India for its performance in the very first year of its establishment. Similarly, to make the students aware of their legal rights and duties, the Legal Literacy Club of our college is doing a marvelous task. Legal Service Authorities Act 1987 was enacted in India to provide free and complete legal services to the weaker sections of the society. But due to illiteracy and ignorance, a large section of our society still remains deprived of the fruits of several welfare legislations and schemes. As students are considered the future leaders, so they would be the best medium to communicate between those in need of these services and welfare schemes and the state legal service authority. Students can help in dissemination of information about legal aid programs and creating legal awareness among masses. Therefore, with an aim to spread knowledge of the legal rights and duties and to give legal suggestions to the underprivileged, Legal Literacy Club was set up in our college. Today's expert lecture on how to plan for startup, legal and ethical steps is an initiative to make the students and faculty aware of several legal and ethical aspects related to the planning and setting a startup. So before we start with today's session, I would like to introduce the distinguished speaker of the day, the very young and brilliant Aafreen Khan, to the participants. She is practicing advocate and a legal counsel. She has diverse experience at such a young age of working with startups operating in various domains, and her work portfolio that includes contract management, auditing, and legal research. We welcome you, ma'am. Now it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Randeep ma'am. And I would also like to thank Sri Guru Gobind Singh College and their literary cell for organizing this along with Young Indians, Young Indian organization. Ma'am has already explained, has already spoken about my experience, but I would just like to elaborate on that slightly. So I graduated in the year 2020, but I have been working with startups since my first year of law school. And I've been fortunate to have the exposure of working with several game programming companies, software companies that are currently dealing in cybersecurity softwares, as well as I've worked with companies that are currently in the research and development and manufacturing of the EV sector cars. I've also worked with some merchandise companies as well as architectural firms. And in my limited experience, what I've noticed is that it's the young people who usually have this idea and are obsessed with having their own business and to be able to run and make something of their own. What I have noticed is that many of them have an idea in their mind and are usually working on something that matches their passion and also fills a particular market gap in the economy. To be honest, there is a lot of competition in this particular sector. And if one wants needs to succeed in any area in any professional area, one needs to have extreme competence. But when it comes to startups and when it comes to somebody who wants to start their own thing, wants to develop something which is uh, filling a market gap, then they have to be extraordinarily careful, and they also need to be very competent and have to have a lot of confidence in the product that they're building. So if you're one of those students and you're one of those people who are planning to start their own company or start their startup, with my limited scope of experience and knowledge, I would try to walk you through the process. So without wasting much time, I will just come to the most important thing that one needs to keep in mind when they are going ahead with the startup. Randeep ma'am, would it be okay if I shut the video because my video is lagging a lot?
No issues.
Is it okay? All right.
It would be okay.
Okay, so I would begin with, I would like to bring the attention of all of yours to the feasibility of a particular idea. What is when somebody comes up with an idea, when somebody has a thought process that I want to start a startup, there has to be an idea in their mind. So one person may have an idea that is interesting, but profitable is that idea going to be? Is it really going to solve a problem that is big enough for a target audience? And how much revenue is that person planning to make out of this venture that they're thinking of? Once you have decided to start your own business, you and the people you're starting this with need to be very clear and should have a business plan. An idea is not only sufficient when it comes to building a business, rather, whether it can be small or big business, you need to have a model planned out. Now, coming to the planning part, before commencing any kind of operations for your startup, like whether it can be manufacturing, you want to start your manufacturing, you want to start developing on your idea, your software, you should have your business plan and model ready. Once you have this whole operation laid out in front of you, you would be able to holistically look into your whole business process and how you think it is going to work. Once these two things, your idea and your business plan, is in your hand, then comes the most important part of getting your company started. That is the registration of your company, the business structure. Depending upon how you want to scale your business, the right business structure has to be chosen. Now, what I mean by business structure is, what is the registration? How are you planning to register your company? There are many kinds of company registrations in India. They are private limited companies, they're public limited companies, they're partnership companies, LLPs, one-person companies, and also sole proprietorships. Now, as I said, depending on your business operations and goals, you need to choose which kind of company registration would be the best fit for you. Now, at a lot of times, it is very confusing for youngsters to make this kind of decision, that whether they should go for a private limited, whether they should go for an LLP, whether they should register it as a sole proprietorship, and whatnot. There are four factors, in fact, that one needs to keep in mind while they're going and they're thinking of getting their company registered. One of them is complexity. Complexity, as far as the factor of complexity is concerned, when you register your company as a sole proprietorship, it is one of the most simple options because it is suitable for companies that are run and managed and controlled by one person. If it is a small business which is run by two or more people, a partnership registration is more suitable. When it comes to limited liability partnership and private limited registered entity, these are slightly more complicated and they have more reporting requirements. There are slightly more compliances legally that one person needs to do. So if you're going to start a big manufacturing unit, then probably I would suggest that you go for getting your company registered as a private limited entity or a limited liability partnership. The second factor that needs to be considered while you are getting your company registered is the fundraising factor. Obviously, when you are starting a company, you will have your own finances, but at a lot of times, people do have to go for funding. And as a business grows, as you would plan on making your business grow, you would require some kind of funding from outside to scale and expand your business. In such scenarios, private limited companies, in my opinion, enjoy better avenues for borrowing funds. Banks and financial institutes also prefer to render their financial assistance to private limited registered companies rather than registered as a sole proprietorship, because they feel that the risk with a sole proprietorship registered company would be more. So they are slightly held back from investing into your company. Now, the third factor is the liability factor when it comes to getting your company registered. Now, what is liability? Liability basically means that if some issue comes up in the company in the coming years of business, then how would the liability be divided on the company or amongst the partners or amongst the co-founders of the company? Of course, in a sole proprietorship, the business owner, you are the only owner and you would be liable for all the damages and expenses. But when it comes to a partnership firm, of course, it would be divided amongst all the partners. The liability would be divided amongst all the partners. A limited liability company limits the liability of each member and its shareholders. Even in the case of if there is a loss under any circumstance in a private limited company, the personal and individual assets of a shareholder are not at risk. But this would not be the case in sole proprietorship or a partnership firm. A private limited company protects you to the extent of liability, but of course it has its own pros and cons. Now, lastly, the factor that needs to be considered while you're getting your company registered is the business control. So for a small business, a sole proprietorship or a limited liability partnership is best suited for the business owner or owners so that they can maintain a sole and primary control over the company and its activities. However, as the business grows, the business operations, the complexities also increase. So a private limited company is more suitable for businesses with complex working and is suitable for also medium and large size businesses, as I said before. So I may have made it sound like, it is a very difficult process to decide what kind of registration one needs to go for. But as long as one's initial company entity selection is in line and you have decided your long-term goals, you shouldn't be too concerned about it. So I hope that these four factors that I have mentioned do not, take you back from, not getting your company registered. Once you have your whole plan, mapped out, it shouldn't be a very difficult thing. So now I would like to directly jump on to, the common mistakes that usually people end up doing when they are starting a startup. So first and foremost, there if you are not into a sole proprietorship, if you have a partnership firm or you also have a limited liability or a private limited company, there will be some other co-founders with you in the company as well. So the first and foremost thing that you need to make sure once your registration is done, your business plan, everything is ready, is that you need to have a clear deal with the other co-founders. If you start your company with co-founders, you should agree at the beginning on the details of your business and professional relationships. Many times people start their business with their friends or relatives and even mentors. However, However, a professional line of action needs to be established in the beginning itself. If you do not have all these things written down on a paper, this can have significant legal issues down the road. So, a founder's agreement, in my opinion, is actually like a prenuptial agreement. Is actually I'm so sorry, prenuptial agreement, and is what I usually tell my clients that if this agreement is not in place, then down the road there will be a lot of problems. So one of the key things that one should make sure while they are considering of making a founders agreement is that how an equity of a company would be split, what would be the percentage of ownership that each of the founders would have, the time commitment expected out of each of the founders, and the how would the key decisions of a company be taken. When there are different co-founders involved, there are stakes that each co-founder keeps. So if you, even if that co-founder is a friend of yours, a professional relationship has to be different from your personal relationship. And if these things are not put down in an agreement or in a contract, it would make issues when, you know, some certain decisions need to be made and there is a contradicting view amongst the co-founders. Now, secondly, the second point that is very important while a startup is starting their operations is the trademark and other intellectual property issues. So when you decide to open your own business, then picking a company name is very, very important. You cannot not go by a name. You have to have a company. Am I audible? I think the signal just went. I'm not sure if I'm audible right now.
Aafreen, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes. So once you have decided on a company name, you need to make sure that this particular name is not infringing with someone else's trademark or their company name. So obviously, whenever you're going for registering your company, you have to have a company name, and that should be very unique. So this is where lawyers and research comes into place. That a basic trademark research can be done through Google, but you need to have an expert who is able to tell you whether such and such name or such and such phonetically sounding same is registered somewhere or not. Once you have this trade name of your company in place, you have also obviously a product or a software that you want to take to the market. So if you have developed a unique product, a technology, or a service, you need to consider the appropriate steps to protect the intellectual property that has been developed by you or your team. Now, both the company's founders and its investors have a stake in ensuring that the company protects its intellectual property and avoids infringing the intellectual property rights of other companies or other people who have probably developed a similar kind of product or a technology. So some of these protective measures that person needs to take care of while they are looking into the trademarks and the intellectual property are, obviously you need to get patented, you need to get your technology or your product patented. This is one of the best way of protecting your own product. A patent gives its owner the right to prevent others from making, using, or selling their own invention. Of course, sometimes patents take a lot of time because there is a lot of R&D. The government, the organizations that are set up for checking the patents take slightly longer periods of time, but that is something that you need to do if your product or your invention is innovative. Now, coming to the copyrights. Copyrights cover the original work of authorship, such as art or advertising copy, books, articles, music, movies, and software. Now, software is also something that can be patented, and it is also something that has copyrights. A copyright gives the owner an exclusive right to make as many copies of their product or their software as they wish, because they are the original owners, that is, the author of the product. Of course, as I've already explained, a trademark protects the symbolic value of a word, name, symbol, and device, and the trademark owner uses this to identify and distinguish its good from those of others. Now, these are the basics. Like this is what intellectual property is. This is what most of you must have heard, that patents, copyrights, and trademarks. This is what intellectual property is all about. But actually, trade secrets. If you have a company, you have your trade secrets. You know how you are particularly marketing your product. You know what is your scalability. You know how you are selling that product. Probably you have a very innovative way of marketing your particular software product, etc. So does this trade secret also become a part of your intellectual property? It does. It actually is a part of your intellectual property. So now, uh, these trade secrets are not generally known to the public, and confers an economic benefit on its holder, because the information obviously is not publicly known and is subject to the efforts of the owner to maintain this secrecy. As the owner of a company, you need to maintain how you are controlling, your business and what are your operations. A trade secret right allows the owner of the right to take action against anyone who misappropriates the secret through theft or other improper means. Now, you are not the only person in the company. Even if it's a sole proprietorship, you do have people who are working for you, and who also know how your particular business is running, right? So to protect your trade secrets, confidentiality agreements are very important. Now, these are also referred to as non-disclosure agreements. The purpose of non-disclosure agreements is primarily to allow the holder of confidential information, that is probably the owner or the co-founders of the company. These agreements protect them, primarily their idea. Every employee should be required to sign such an agreement, regardless of that employee being at a very high position in your company, but is an employee, needs to sign this agreement. This also needs to be a clause in the co-founders agreement, that if one of the founders eventually plans to leave, that this trade secret particular clause is very, very important. It firstly obligates the person who is signing it to keep the information confidential, the proprietary information of the business, both during employment and after employment ends. And it also ensures that any inventions, ideas, products, or services developed by the company during the term of the person in being involved in the company and is related to the business is protected. So most companies usually do have a standard form contract when it comes to, it's usually inculcated in their employment agreement that that the person who's signing this agreement will not share this particular confidential information, and what is the definition of confidential information. However, in my experience, I feel that these confidentiality agreements should not be taken lightly, because any product, anything that you have built is your own baby. That is something that you would want to protect till the ends of the earth. So if you are working with people whom you feel that might leave and would not be with you till the end to see through the product coming into the market, then it is always safe to have a confidentiality agreement. And the breach of and if the person who signed the agreement breaches the contract, then obviously there will be legal issues that will hamper the person who has breached this particular contract. So in my opinion, confidentiality agreements are more important than having a co-founders agreement, because this is the main thing that is protecting your idea. So now, usually what happens is that there is a misguided effort to save expenses. When somebody is building a startup, usually what they feel is that having any kind of uh, unnecessary expense needs to be taken out, and usually legal help is considered an unnecessary expense when somebody is starting a business. So, well, what usually people do is that they hire an experienced people who are probably not from a legal background, some of them who are their friends or relatives, and they just take their opinion. And in doing so, I feel that the founders or the owners of company themselves, you know, get into a lot of legal problems because they do not take expert advice in the beginning. Right. Founders, in my opinion, should always consider interviewing and being in touch with all kinds of accounting experts, all kinds of legal experts and business experts, and everybody when you're starting your own company. As I said in the beginning of my talk, that people, these are youngsters who have these ideas that they want to bring out to the world, and they want to fill in a market gap. So they tend to not take a lot of things seriously. They feel that what they know is enough, that their knowledge of the product is enough, but that's not how a business has to be set up or run. People need to have advices from their seniors, from their mentors, from the experts in the field, and so that they do not have any kind of legal issues in the coming times. So I would just now, conclude the session, and I would just like to say that in my experience of working with startups, one primarily only needs three things when you're starting a company, right? Be super passionate about your startup idea, and it would be valuable enough to address, your idea should be valuable enough to address a particular market gap, and you will need to work hard. There is no shortcut when it comes to starting your own business, and it is going to be a lot harder than we think while we're starting a business. And if you're ready to accept any kind of criticism and failures, and you're ready to work your way through that, as youngsters, it's just enough. And if you have these things in your bag, then there will be no problem when you're planning to start your own company or something like that. I think this is all from my side, Randeep ma'am. Ramandeep ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Aafreen. Thank you for such a meaningful and insightful lecture. Now I would request Coordinator of Legal Literacy Club, Dr. Harmeet Kaur, to propose vote of thanks. Over to Dr. Harmeet Kaur.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Aafreen, for such a knowledgeable, enhancing, and insightful lecture. In the recent way, you have explained the various aspects of legal aspects for starting up a business. We are so thankful to you. And for regarding formally proposing vote of thanks, respected ma'am, faculty members, and students, I congratulate you all for the successful completion of the event. I extend my sincere thanks to the college management, principal ma'am, coordinator, innovation cell, Young Indians and the legal literacy club members for the successful participation and for sparing your valuable time for the session. We are so thankful to you. We are also thankful to all the members of the legal literacy club, and my deep sense of appreciation for the resource person of the day, Ms. Aafreen Khan, for being so kind. And I would also like to extend my thanks to the faculty members and all those who have joined the lecture. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the session. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Aafreen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.